On 5 News tonight, gun horror as 3 members of one family die. The Labour leadership contest hots up, and so does the weather. A mum and daughter are shot dead in Lincolnshire. It's believed the girl's father then shot himself. Angela Eagle drops out of the Labour leadership contest. We reveal almost all mental health trusts inspected in England are officially classed as not good enough for safety. Summer is finally here, but warnings of a month's worth of rain tonight. Also on the programme, we'll be discussing the Russian athletics doping scandal. As officials decide whether the team can compete in Rio, I'll be asking one British athlete who lost out to Russian dopers what she thinks. Plus,
there are people out there that need our help.
The hate aimed at Ghostbusters takes a sinister turn. We'll be talking about the racist and sexist abuse suffered by the film's female stars. Welcome to 5 News Tonight. I'm Danny Sinha. A man is believed to have shot dead his partner and his daughter at a swimming pool in Lincolnshire. He then turned the gun on himself. The local school was locked down whilst police attended the scene in the small town of Spalding. Witnesses said swimmers in the pool heard the shootings and the centre manager rushed out to find the victims bleeding on the ground. Simon Vigar sent this report from Spalding.
A plain white forensics tent protects the crime scene. An ordinary swimming pool car park where this morning 3 people, including the gunman, died. The gunman was delivery driver Lance Hart. It's believed he turned the gun on himself after shooting his wife Claire and their 19-year-old daughter Charlotte. This afternoon, 2 members of staff at the pool were allowed near the scene for a moment of reflection. This small Lincolnshire town is in shock.
Well, I'm just shocked. I can't say any other word for it. It's unbelievable, really.
Shocking. Well, the world's going crazy. A bit devastating. Nothing ever happens in Spalding. It's usually really quiet.
Paramedics were called to Castle Swimming Pool in Spalding at 9 this morning and advised to approach with caution.
At the scene, officers found a deceased man along with 2 women who had received serious injuries. CPR was attempted on both women, but I'm sad to report that both women have subsequently died. We believe a shotgun was involved in the incident and are currently investigating the circumstances of this tragic incident. We confirm that we are no longer seeking anyone else in connection with this tragedy.
5 miles from the swimming pool, police stood guard outside the family house in Moulton. The shooting on a beautiful summer's morning has left people here in shock.
It's market day today, and people are still going about their business in the marketplace, and you can't really believe something as awful as this has happened in the midst of it all.
So there is a sense of unreality to it?
Completely, yes. I'm sure that as the days go by and we begin to hear a little bit more about what's happened, then perhaps it will begin to make a bit of sense, but at the moment it just doesn't at all.
The full story of this family tragedy may never be known. Tonight, their devastated loved ones are left with grief and with questions.
And Simon, what more can you tell us?
Well, Danny, police will not formally release the names tonight, but 5 News can confirm that the man with the shotgun was 57-year-old delivery driver Lance Hart. He lived just 5 miles from here in the village of Moulton, and he shot his 50-year-old wife, Claire, and their 19-year-old daughter, Charlotte, this morning. Why they were here this morning at 9 o'clock, we don't know. It's something clearly that the police will be looking into, but we can confirm this wasn't a terrorist incident. The police aren't looking for anybody else in connection with this incident. It was a family tragedy.
Simon, thank you very much. Angela Eagle is quitting the race to challenge Jeremy Corbyn's leadership of the Labour Party. It now means Owen Smith will run against Jeremy Corbyn as he won the support of more MPs. Our political editor, Andy Bell, is in Westminster for us tonight. And Andy, more change. I mean, what more can you tell us?
Well, Danny, Angela Eagle had been the first Labour MP formally to challenge Jeremy Corbyn for the leadership of the party, but she came to the conclusion that she simply didn't have quite enough support among Labour MPs, and so just over an hour ago she pulled out of the race.
I'm announcing tonight that I'm withdrawing from this race and supporting Owen. I'd like to congratulate Owen on coming top in this race and then going on, I think, to take on Jeremy Corbyn.
Now, she's been pushed out of the race by Owen Smith, the Labour MP. He's only been an MP for 6 years, but there was tremendous pressure inside the Labour Party in this place, inside the Parliamentary Labour Party, that there should just be one MP to take on Jeremy Corbyn. And therefore, the arrangement was agreed that essentially whichever of the two, between Angela Eagle and Owen Smith, could muster the most support among MPs should be allowed to carry on the fight alone. I understand that Owen Smith had the support of about 25 MPs more than Angela Eagle. That's why she dropped out, and that's why he will now take on Jeremy Corbyn. This is what Owen Smith has had to say within the last hour.
We need to go beyond some of the slogans that Jeremy has been so good at articulating and get to some of the solutions that people want out there. That's how we will get Labour from being just a protest party to being a party that people can imagine running the country and doing a better job than the current lot.
Well, let's leave Labour to the side once again. And also a big day, though, for the Conservatives. It was Theresa May's first cabinet, wasn't it?
That's right. Talking of the current lot, as Owen Smith referred to them there, the Conservative Party having the first cabinet meeting underneath the leadership of Prime Minister Theresa May. As well as that, her controversial choice for Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson. He had an important visitor in town today, and Boris Johnson also had to face some tricky questions.
Same old cabinet table, some of the same old faces, but a lot here has changed. Most importantly, she is now in charge.
Politics is not a game. The decisions that we take around this table affect people's day-to-day lives.
With her Foreign Secretary at her side and those who'd campaigned to leave next to those who'd wanted to remain, she told them Brexit means Brexit. They drummed on the table to give her the traditional show of approval. So afterwards, what did they think?
How was it?
Very good cabinet. Thank you very much indeed.
It's an excellent cabinet. It's absolutely wonderful. And they will all be excellent.
And was it dominated by Brexit? You talk of that.
No, it was dominated by the need for us to ensure a social agenda for this country. That's what we focus on, as well as getting the best deal we can as we leave the EU.
Another message from Cabinet: despite leaving the EU, Britain's door is still open. That may come as news to the American Secretary of State. Later, in a joint press conference, Boris Johnson was accused of telling outright lies. Watch Secretary of State Kerry's face.
Outright lies that I think few foreign secretaries...
People are more than welcome to rake over stuff I've written over many, many years, but I think the most important thing is to get on with the very heavy agenda we have before us today and to try and sort out, if we can, some of the intensifying problems we're seeing, particularly in Syria.
Along with her controversial Foreign Secretary, she is now reshaping Britain's place in the world after the US administration today, tomorrow Europe, as Theresa May heads to Germany. Andy Bell, 5 News.
A 5 News investigation has found almost all NHS mental health trusts in England have been told to improve their patients' safety. Inspections over the last year found safety measures in the majority of trusts were inadequate or indeed requiring improvement. Our health correspondent Catherine Jones has been speaking to one mum who feels her daughter's life could have been saved if safety was a bigger priority.
Just how safe is the health service for those who are mentally ill? We've examined the safety ratings of the 36 mental health trusts in England with inspection reports published in the last year. 3 are the worst rating, inadequate, and 30 require improvement. Only 3 get a safety rating of good. Delving deeper into these reports reveals a shocking picture of inpatient care. Out-of-date emergency oxygen supplies, resuscitation equipment not checked or missing, incidents not being reported, staff shortages and inadequate training.
Little heart here Helen was wearing when she died.
Anne's daughter, Helen Wills, died suddenly in her sleep while under 15-minute observations on a mental health ward. A nurse had noticed her breathing was strange.
Her breathing startled him.
An inquest decided a doctor should have checked her pulse as she slept, and the ward's resuscitation plans were inadequate.
She was there to be protected by people I thought knew what they were doing, and I trusted them. After inquests are finished, the big people that should know better, they need to listen and learn. You need staff that really do understand these people are fragile.
Many failings stem from housing patients in outdated buildings, in rooms not fit for purpose, with blind spots where patients can't be watched, and unacceptable ligature risks, meaning they could hang themselves. The man from the Care Quality Commission in charge of inspecting mental health trusts told 5 News safety should be top priority.
Providing effective, compassionate care is important, but first and foremost, you must ensure that people under your care are safe. But it's not a simple problem, because reprovisioning the whole of mental health inpatient care would be an enormous task and require huge investment.
The Department of Health says the Independent Care Quality Commission has strengthened its inspections to make sure patients get consistently high standards of care. While that may result in challenging findings, it is vital that improvements take place wherever they are needed.
Mental health trusts have been really struggling and their budgets have been cut year on year over the past 10 years. But that's no excuse for fundamental problems like safety. Any patient should expect to go to hospital, that they'll be treated in a safe and therapeutic environment, and that's what we want to see. That's what they should expect.
But Anne feels improvement only happens after someone dies.
That's all we get at the end of the day. We have lessons to learn at whose expense? Not theirs.
Safety should be paramount, but in too many mental health trusts in England, it isn't yet. Catherine Jones, 5 News.
Police in Germany say they found a hand-painted flag of so-called Islamic State in the room of an Afghan refugee who attacked passengers on a train with an axe and a knife. 5 people were injured in the attack near Würzburg before the 17-year-old suspect was shot dead by police. The terror group released a video they claim shows the attacker vowing to carry out a suicide mission. German officials say it's too early to say whether the teenager was a member of Islamic State. The International Monetary Fund has cut its growth forecast for the UK for next year by 0.9%. The IMF claims the vote to leave the EU threw a spanner in the works on the global economy. It warned that the outlook could darken even further, plunging the UK into recession. Well, if the exit process turns out to be more painful than expected. Russia will have to wait a little longer to find out whether it's banned from the Rio Olympics, which starts, of course, in just a few weeks' time. The International Olympic Committee says it is seeking legal advice on the possibility of banning all Russian competitors. Well, it does follow a damning report which found the country has systematically covered up doping at Summer and Winter Olympics from late 2011 to August last year. Well, this is something, of course, that Russian officials deny. I'm joined now by British long jumper JJ Jagadi and Marilyn Okoro, an 800 metres runner who represented Team GB at the Beijing Olympics. Great to have you with us both this evening.
Thank you for having me.
Marilyn, let's start with you because you have got first-hand experience of others. You're an honest athlete, of course, but of others doping that has also had an impact on you.
Indeed, yes. So we recently just got upgraded for the 4x4 from Beijing, from 5th place to 4th place. And then personally, for me, my experience in 2011, the European Indoor Championships, I crossed the line in 5th place. However, 1st and 2nd place were both Russian athletes who were subsequently disqualified from that competition.
So what sort of impact did that have?
Oh, massive. You know, for me, I was coming back from an injury, so it was great to make the team. That was a great opportunity for myself personally to go out there and showcase all the hard work I'd done. So
you must have been angry though, surely.
I was extremely frustrated because this does have a knock-on effect. You know, it's in terms of personal funding. You know, they look at us and say, oh, you know, you're struggling to make those global finals, whereas that could have been an opportunity for me to go out there and prove all my honest hard work.
JJ, you've heard Marilyn's experience. You're an athlete, so you get it as well.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, sport and integrity, it's so crucial, isn't it?
It's so important.
I understand exactly what Marilyn's saying because, you know, we put in so much work and we put, you know, to go and get out there and win gold medals and win medals or even represent our country. I trained in Florida with a Russian athlete called Daria Klashina. And when they were saying they were going to ban all the Russians, I thought it was very unfair. Even though I know that, you know, a lot of the Russians might be doping, Daria I knew was a great athlete, trained really hard, and she wasn't going to get the opportunity to go to the Olympics. Now we train for 4 years to go to the Olympics. Now, for the fact that our whole country wouldn't be able to go and she wouldn't be allowed to go, I felt a bit harsh for her. That's all I was going to say on the matter.
But surely you can see that the majority of Russian athletes, certainly as far as the IOC are concerned as well, it would appear, they think they were doping. So something has to be done here, doesn't it?
Definitely. I think not just the ban. I think what we need to do is pass the ban. What are we going to do? Testing-wise, blood doping testing, but also we need to go into Russia and see what the actual testing schedule is. It's not just Russia. You've got Belarus, you've got Kenya.
What about you, Marilyn? Would you come down even harder?
I completely am 100% for the ban. I think it is the first stepping stone. You know, the secret to getting ahead is getting started, and I think this is a firm stand that can be taken in order to then move on to further steps.
Very quickly, does it make you even more reticent to trust your fellow athletes, knowing now what may have been happening, and it happened to you?
Oh, indeed. You know, I believe GB athletes were very clean. We've got a fantastic doping system in place. In terms of going out there and competing, that's all I can do and focus on for the meantime.
Yeah. JJ, do you think we can get rid of doping? Is that ever possible?
No.
Oh dear.
Unfortunately, because the dopers are always going to be ahead of the testers. I think that it's in your integrity. If you want to cheat, you know, that's going to be the problem. I don't think you can ever sort of eradicate it.
Sad picture you paint, but great to have your thoughts this evening, JJ. Marilyn, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Coming up on 5 News tonight, Vauxhall's car scandal. Bosses admit they knew about cars catching fire years before customers were told. And baking Britain's sweltering temperatures on the hottest day of the year so far. We'll see you after the break. Welcome back. You're watching 5 News Tonight. The car maker Vauxhall has been criticised by MPs over the way it responded to hundreds of its Zafira B cars bursting into flames. Vauxhall first logged a problem back in 2009, but it wasn't until people shared their own experiences online that the company recalled the cars. Well, customers say more should have been done a lot sooner. Warren Nettleford reports.
So many Vauxhall Zafiras have now burst into flames, its manufacturers can no longer claim surprise. But for each incident, there's a personal story of shock, fear, and sometimes a lucky escape. Craig Hemming's car had already been recalled and modified by Vauxhall when this happened. His family of 6 were caught inside when it burst into flames.
It's quite terrifying. It's one thing being put in that position yourself, on your own, but to be put in that position where, you know, you and your partner have got to effectively sort of save your 4 young children is petrifying, to say the least.
Today it was the turn of executives from Vauxhall to be in the hot seats at the Transport Select Committee. They decided to say sorry.
For customers who've had the inconvenience, and you know, we and Vauxhall and I personally am truly sorry of that.
They're saying sorry for a problem that began in 2009. Since then, there have been 300 similar incidents, many with passengers still inside. 200,000 cars have been recalled. It's cost Vauxhall more than £30 million. Lisa and Brian Adams are listening to the Select Committee closely.
You might not have identified the reason for the fires, but you knew there was a fire in that model. You knew that was the case. So why didn't you react to that?
They've got nothing to say.
Despite the engine being switched off, their Zafira burst into flames in February. They're angry it's taken Vauxhall so long to act.
They've been hauled up in front of the Transport Committee. They don't have the answers, really, and they're a big company. They should have answers. We should be able to rely on them to have answers.
I said all along that Vauxhall must have known at that time that there was an issue, but the fact they never said anything and carried on letting these fires happen until they had their first recall, that's disgraceful.
7 years since the first Zafira fires, Vauxhall say it's taken so long because they've been investigating the cause of the fires. They've revealed they'll be recalling vehicles again in August, admitting the issue still hasn't been solved. Whilst thousands of customers seek compensation, Vauxhall are attempting to rescue their reputation. Warren Nettleford, 5 News.
Now, hotter than Barcelona or indeed Bangkok, today is officially the warmest day of the year in the UK. Well, many of you have been enjoying the tropical temperatures, but do brace yourselves because thunderstorms are coming tonight that could bring a month's worth of rain in some areas. But for now, the mini heatwave is in full swing, as Layla Hayes reports.
When the weather's this hot, there's only one place to go. And in Blackpool today, they were soaking up the rays and getting us soaking in the sea. In London's Hyde Park, the water also came in handy, with tropical temperatures and a chance to have fun. In Birmingham, they were also finding ways to keep cool.
When the weather's this good, it's more like Barbados than Birmingham. But forecasters say enjoy it while it lasts. There's rain to come.
Grab it while you can, tops up, get the suntan, so yes. Enjoying it.
I love it. Love it. Hotter the better. Not over night time, but in the day, definitely.
I just don't like when the sun's in your eyes.
It's been a scorching day across the UK. The highest recorded temperature, 33.4 degrees in the Worcestershire town of Pershore. It was also a sweltering 33 degrees in London and Bristol, and 32 in Oxford and Leicester. In Wales, it was 31 degrees in Cardiff. And it was a hot day in Scotland too, with 28 degrees in Dumfries, and in Northern Ireland it was 27 in Londonderry. But while the weather's great for sun worshippers, it's bad news for those with asthma. Increased pollution and high pollen levels can increase the likelihood of an attack.
Yes, we do see that. I mean, our patient tells us that their symptoms get worse at this time of the year. They get flare-ups, they get even asthma attacks. And we do see increase in hospital admissions from asthma as well.
The advice is to stay cool and be sensible. Sunbathing on the motorway, perhaps not the best idea. At London Zoo, the gorillas have been keeping cool with the help of some ice lollies. It might be hot now, but heavy rain and possible flash floods are coming. This glorious weather isn't going to last. Layla Hayes, 5 News, Birmingham.
Enjoy it while it does last. Now, it was one of the most anticipated remakes in recent years, but the new Ghostbusters movie has also become one of the most divisive.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Oh.
Did you want to?
Sorry, I'll let you.
Next time.
Well, some fans of the original are upset that their much-loved Ghostbusters are now all women. And in extreme cases, they've taken to Twitter to fire a barrage of sexist abuse at the film's stars, and some critics who indeed gave it positive reviews. Well, actress Leslie Jones has been getting the brunt of it, with many people tweeting both sexist and racist abuse at her. Last night, she said she'd had enough, and she actually quit the social media site. Let's just have a look at some of the tweets. Then she wrote, "I'll leave Twitter tonight with tears and a very sad heart." But earlier she tweeted, "I feel like I'm in a personal hell." And this one, "I'm so tired of it. Why is this still a fight?" And delighted to say I'm joined by Caroline Frost, entertainment editor at the Huffington Post, and Akua Jamfi, founder of the British Blacklist, a database of black talent in the entertainment industry. Great to have you with us, ladies.
Thank you.
Caroline, why is this such a fight over this film?
Well, obviously this film, the stakes were very high going in. As we know, I mean, the 1984 original was one of those film treasures beloved by generations. And so when it first came to our notice that an all-female cast was going to be made into the new one, I think a lot of people became very protective of that brand, that whole franchise. Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, these people were irreplaceable, and yet they were going to bring it into the 21st century.
And I get that, but Akua, you must have your thoughts. I mean, fine, things change, but it doesn't mean you have to be racist, does it?
Far from it. I think people are forgetting their manners. The internet's giving everyone, muscles, super wings, and thinking they can just say anything because they've got a keyboard and hide behind saying some really vile and volatile stuff. It's disgusting.
This got really personal, didn't it, with Leslie Jones? I mean, that's the point about this.
And the thing is, it's the fact that Leslie's been, separated from everybody else, and she's been targeted and getting these really racist, vile comments because people. I mean, you can love a franchise, you can have something that's classic and hold it dear to your heart. I understand that, but that doesn't give you excuse or reason to target someone so nastily. It's horrible.
Caroline, away from also what's happening to Leslie Jones, I mean, obviously there was a massive problem because it's a cast of all women. I mean, do you think they made a bit of a mistake here?
I mean, I always think that they have to really think about what they're doing going into any kind of remake, reboot. We've seen it with Star Trek, we've seen it with Star Wars. Of course, this was the first off the rank of all these kind of new women in Hollywood having their voices heard, having their faces on screen. It should have been a cause for celebration, and of course, it's gone horribly wrong for so many of the people involved. It's a real disaster.
I guess the interesting thing about this, though, is, and actually it did have good reviews, but away from that again, I mean, what about trolling? I mean, is this a problem? Akua, what do you think?
It's a massive problem. I think I had a conversation just prior to coming here with someone who it took a year for Twitter to react to some trolling and bullying that she'd experienced, and I think. Sorry, it's a massive problem.
Of course. Do you know, I have to point out, because Twitter I do have to put their point of view across, and they have said this type of abusive behaviour is not permitted, and they say they have taken action on many of the accounts reported to them by Leslie and others. I guess what's happening here, though, things are happening so quickly, social media, people just go mad sometimes, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, what it does is, because it's become a battlefield, it's become the big cocktail party on the internet, and so various people, we had recently Justin Timberlake kind of accidentally tripped over and became appropriating black culture and got lambasted. So you've got well-thinking, good-intentioned people sort of double-guessing themselves, leaving the room free for all these extremist views to come forward.
Very, very quickly, do you think the director expected all this anger? Do you think that this level of people just going crazy and hating the film and being angry to other people and stars in it?
I mean, I think he thought that the stakes were high, as I say, and that there would be a bunch of people very protective of the brand. But I think he thought he'd deal with the likes of the Star Wars, the cronies there, the Star Trekkers, and instead he's got this wave of abuse that is completely beyond the par.
Caroline Akua, great to have you with us. Thank you very much. Well, that's all from us. Sean Welby has the all-important weather forecast next. Sangeeta has updates throughout the evening. From all of us here, thanks very much for watching. Good night. Bye-bye.